SENDCO Solutions was born when I was made redundant as a SENCO. Yes, that happens. And I wanted a service that would have supported me when I was a SENCO. So SENDCO Solutions provides support to SENCOs, so support and advice. It provides support to schools around that compliancy and being in control of the code of practice. And it provides a service to suppliers of SEN products and services to make sure that what they are trying to sell to schools is actually suitable for the purpose that they're trying to do that for. So if a school commissioned SENDCO Solutions to support them, then we would probably be looking at an SEN review. So going in, doing a little bit of a self-audit first, which is quick and easy to do and helps the school to identify things, but then going in and helping them to identify where difficulties are, where their strengths are, and then to work on those things, coming up with an action plan and developing that a little bit further. So for SENCOs, it's more around that day-to-day role. How do I do this? What's the answer to that? Because we all know that no matter how much experience you've got, there's always something that comes up that you've never heard of. My big example of that is when a child walked in my classroom once who had neurofibromatosis, and the parent nearly fell on the floor when I said, "Oh yeah, I've taught a student about the past," because it was absolutely unheard of that, coming across that experience. And I was lucky I had that. So with companies, there's different sides to it. So there are companies that offer services, and it's no secret that I work for Educate, and I work as a consultant SENCO. So it's a lot of the behind the scenes type stuff. Things like making sure that they're compliant with the code of practice, making sure that they're in touch with all of the things that are changing in the SEN world. Do they understand that not all schools get the same amount of funding? What kind of targets can they put in their target library? For other companies, they produce products. So for companies such as Primed, they had a series of products that they've had out for a while. They've got plenty of normal reviews, if you like, for it. What they wanted was a very specific SEN focus on it. So how could their products work with SEN students? Alright, so I've been a teacher for well over 25 years now. I originally trained as a secondary science teacher, and the only reason I went into it, I'm perfectly honest, is because I didn't particularly want to go into research when I'd done a science degree and didn't know what to do, so I went into teacher training. And I finished my year of teacher training and was told to get my first year of teaching under my belt, so I went and did that, down to school in Hertfordshire. And if you can imagine picking up the East End of London and plonking it in the middle of a green field, that was the school I was teaching in. So it was a very entertaining place to go to, and I ended up with a lot of very weak students, so students who really struggled with their learning, and a lot of students who literally came off the plane one day, landed in the country, and were put in my classroom the following day. So a lot of EAL pupils where it was, "Oh, great, another one, what language are you?" Trying to work that out with them. And I stayed there for 2 years. I only stayed 2 years because they actually closed the school down, nothing to do with me, don't take it personally. And I moved to another school. Now, the strange thing about it is I didn't actually go into secondary for either of them. I went into middle schools, so I had years 5, 6, 7 and 8. So I started dabbling in other subjects. So in my first couple of years of teaching, I taught English, I taught science, I taught maths, and I taught music of all things. And then moved to a second middle school, which was up in Staffordshire, and I applied for a science post because I was a scientist, and they actually gave me a Year 6 class teacher's post. And it was the year that literacy was introduced into schools, literacy and numeracy project, if people can remember those. That kind of gives you an indicator how old I am. And I was in with those from the very beginning, so I got to learn that full curriculum from that perspective. And again, it was a school in an area of high need and deprivation, and our head teacher didn't have a safeguarding lead. So I ended up being the safeguarding lead. I also ended up as the assessment coordinator, and within 3 months of actually starting there, the SENCO went off sick. And basically what happened was I had some of the highest need students who were actually in my class, so they asked me to pick up that SEN role, if you like, while she was absent. And then when she came back, she wasn't quite well enough to take it back on herself, so I ended up holding on to it for a bit longer. Stayed there for 3 years, and it was a bit of a trek. It was a 50-mile trek each direction to get to the school, which is a bit far to go. So I applied to a school that was nearer to me. It was a brand new primary school that was opening, and I interviewed for it. There was over 100 of us that actually applied for the job, and I got down shortlisted, and I got the interview, and I got the job. And I thought, this is brilliant. It was a brand new school opening, and we knew there would only be 3 teachers for the whole of the school, and we knew there would be mixed age classes, and I assumed, very stupidly, that I'd get year 5, year 6 in the same class, because that's where my experience was. And I walked in, and I was given mixed year 1, 2, 3. And that was a massive learning curve, but it meant I had to develop all of those skills that went with that. So I had to learn that curriculum for those students, learn how they learn, because a younger base of children is very different to teaching secondary. So did that. I was a coordinator for several subjects because there was only 3 of us, including science for once, but history, family learning, IT. I took on a bit of a SENCO role there as well, because we didn't actually have a named SENCO across the whole school because we had so few students when we started. Stayed there for a few years, and then had my own children. And they tried to put me in the nursery, which was just like, no, not doing that. And came out of it and went into 6th form. So I jumped from teaching 6-year-olds to teaching 16 plus. And I actually went as a full-time student to go and redo some A-levels so that I could get back into teaching science again. And they found out I was a teacher, and within about 3 months of actually starting there, they'd recruited me to the team, and I was teaching A-levels and supporting SEN students, and almost in the SEN role, the SENCO role within that establishment as well. Spent a few years there. FE pay is horrendous, it's disgusting, just don't even go on that. So decided I wanted to get back into a school and applied to a secondary school. I applied to a couple of them, got an interview at one over in Nottingham, and got offered the job as their SENCO. However, over that full span of teaching, all of those years, I have taught GCSE science once. Which is great fun. And I spent about 10 years at that secondary school before they decided to make me redundant. Okay, so I was their SENCO, I was their named SENCO, although that name changed on frequent occasions, so I'm a coordinator of vulnerable groups in 1 year, that kept changing, but I also picked up anything that nobody else wanted. So there's lots of hats in schools that people don't particularly want, they're a bit of a poison chalice sometimes, so I had all of those. So SENCO for SEN, Pupil Premium, EAL, looked after, safeguarding. I was chief first-aider at one point as well. I was literacy coordinator, and I also had a foundation learning department, if you like. So I set up my own learning programme for students who really struggled with the curriculum the school was offering. We call it foundation learning. So I had those. In terms of what I actually taught, as I said, I only taught GCSE science once. My timetable was filled up with lots of literacy intervention, and I taught GCSE history, a bit of IT, a whole variety of other things as well.